Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is Wisdom Unveiled. Today we're diving into number 5 in our series, drawing from some really fascinating conversations with Iranian philosophers, folks like Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Esmail Manzouri Larijani, and our focus this time, the incredible Hakim Abu Qasim Ferdowsi. Now, most people know Ferdowsi for the Shahnameh, right? The Book of Kings, the epic stories. But what if I told you that, well, before you even get to the heroes and the battles, those opening verses are just packed with deep philosophical thought. That's what we want to unpack today. Just a quick heads up for you listening. This deep dive is based on translations, reproductions of conversations with these philosophers. Some details might not come across perfectly. We do apologize in advance for any discrepancies. And hey, your feedback, we genuinely welcome it. So our mission here is to get to grips with Ferdowsi, not just as this amazing storyteller, but as a hakim, a sage, a wise philosopher. We're digging into that intellectual, that spiritual foundation he lays right there at the very start.
And that title, Hakim, it really is key, isn't it? It immediately signals something deeper is going on. The philosophers we're drawing on, they describe the Shahnameh as muhakkat.
Muhakkat, what does that mean exactly?
It's not just imitation, it's more like a truthful, poetic representation of reality. An epic representation.
Yeah.
Ferdowsi uses the epic form, the Hamasa, as a vehicle, really, to get at these deeper philosophical truths.
Okay, so Hamasa, the epic form, it's not just about, big battles and grand scale. There's a philosophical angle.
Absolutely. Philosophically, Hamasa is tied to human aspiration, that drive we have, to aim higher, achieve something meaningful. And it needs both intellect, karad, to even conceive of those high aims, and courage, what the source calls gar, to actually pursue them.
Ah, right. Intellect and courage together.
Exactly. The epic becomes the expression of that highest aspirations shown through courageous action.
And they draw a really interesting contrast with Greek tragedy. What's the core difference Ferdowsi brings in right from the get-go?
The absolute bedrock difference is tawhid.
The unity of God. Monotheism.
Precisely. The Shahnameh is built entirely on that. Greek tragedy, you often have conflict with fate or, a whole pantheon of gods pulling in different directions. Often it's a clash of rights, leading almost inevitably to disaster.
So even when Ferdowsi depicts cosmic struggles like Yazdan versus Ahriman, it's framed differently because of tawhid.
Fundamentally different. Yazdan is seen as an angelic force, aligned with the divine will. Ahriman is, evil, Satan. But crucially, God is completely transcendent, utterly above and beyond this duality playing out in creation.
So God isn't a character in the drama, like Zeus might be, interfering and taking sides.
Not at all. God is beyond Yazdan and Ahriman. Ultimate reality isn't caught up in the struggle, it transcends it. God is the source, the ground of being, not just another player on the stage. That theological difference shapes everything.
That's a huge difference. Okay, let's actually dive into those opening lines. They really do hit you with big ideas immediately.
They really do. The very first line, in the name of the Lord of life and wisdom.
Life and wisdom, John and Harad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Linked right away. The implication is clear. Tree life, meaningful life, finds its meaning through wisdom, through intellect. They're intrinsically connected.
And then straight away he talks about the limits of our understanding, something about thought not being able to pass beyond.
Exactly. That thought cannot pass beyond this. It's a direct statement about transcendence, God's essence, the ultimate reality. It's just beyond our conceptual grasp.
Minds are finite.
Right. Our concepts, our thoughts, they hit a ceiling when trying to comprehend the infinite, the absolute. It's like trying to hold the ocean in a cup.
And this limitation extends to our senses, too. The viewer cannot see the creator.
Yes. Our physical senses are for the material world. They're the wrong tool for perceiving the transcendent. You can't see God with your physical eyes. But then he adds that deeper layer. Our vision does not perceive him, but he perceives vision.
Okay, that line always stands out. What does it mean, God perceives vision?
It's profound. It means God perceives the very reality of seeing itself. The fundamental nature of perception, the underlying awareness that makes any seeing possible.
Wow, so our perception is like a reflection of his.
In a way, yes. A manifestation of his absolute perception. Our senses need intellect, that karad, to point towards this deeper reality they can't grasp on their own.
He also uses these titles, Lord of Name, Sahib Nam, and Lord of Place, Sahib Jah. What did those signify?
Well, Shahnameh suggests God possesses all the divine names or attributes, merciful, knowing, powerful the ways we try to understand aspects of God. And Sahib Jah points to God as the ultimate source, the ground of being, the place from which everything originates.
But then, almost in the same breath, he says God is higher than name and sign and conjecture.
Exactly. Because even those names, those concepts, however helpful, are still our limited tools, our filters. They point towards God, but they can't contain God's essence. God is always beyond any box we try to put him in.
Okay, so we have life and wisdom linked, God's transcendence beyond thought, senses, even names. What's the next big idea he introduces?
He mentions the creator of the elevated jewel, Gohor Grant Maya.
The elevated jewel.
Yes, and according to the philosophical reading from these sources, that's Ferdowsi's poetic way of talking about the first intellect, the Aqwi Awal. This ties into Islamic cosmology, the idea that the very first thing created was intellect.
So he's placing intellect right at the foundation of creation itself.
Precisely. It establishes the absolute primacy of intellect in the cosmic order he's depicting.
And he has that amazing metaphor for it, the eye of the soul, Cheshme-i-Jan.
Yes, think about it. Physical eyes see the outside world, the forms. But the soul's eye, karad, intellect. That's what truly perceives in a deeper sense. It interprets, makes distinctions, understands the meaning behind the appearance.
So without intellect, physical sight is just raw data.
Kind of, yeah. It lacks clarity, lacks understanding of value and meaning. Intellect is what discerns reality beyond just sensing it.
And how does language fit into this picture? He mentions par or kalaba.
Language is seen as the body, the form that thought and disha takes to appear in the world, to be communicated.
So it's essential but limited by the thought itself.
Exactly. It's crucial, but it's only as good as the thought it expresses. And the capacity for language is seen as this innate divine gift connected to God teaching Adam the names. But language without real thought behind it is just noise. Varaja, lifeless bijan, thought is primary.
Intellect is the inner eye, language as thought's body, and they also talk about intellect as the ultimate measure, using terms like sanjad and mizan.
Yes, scale or measure. The idea is that intellect is the fundamental yardstick for understanding reality, for ordering it. Any system, laws, science, measurement itself gets its validity from the intellect that conceived it. It's the basis for order.
And this connects directly to justice, Dad.
Absolutely. Justice isn't just some rule imposed later. It's seen as inherent in the divine order. God is fundamentally just, dadvar, dadgar, and it's intellect, recognizing measure and proportion, that allows us to grasp and enact justice.
And there's that line too, wise is the one who is powerful, dana tavanast.
Yes, a key point. Real power, real capability, doesn't just come from force, it comes from wisdom, Dana.
Power without wisdom is
ineffective, maybe even destructive. True effectiveness comes from knowing what to do and why. It also touches on practical wisdom, like understanding need versus greed. Greed makes you perpetually needy because desire has no measure.
And that other one, from knowledge, the old heart becomes young. What's that getting at?
That often points to the qualities of a true guide, a peer. It's not about physical age. It's knowledge, Donna, that keeps the inner self, the heart perceptive, vibrant, essentially young in spirit, able to see clearly and guide others.
But you have to actively seek this wisdom, right? Kalab, pardon.
Oh, absolutely. You have to search for it, Pidan. Seek out those who have it, the Dani. And knowledge itself, Dennis Niad be banned. It can't be contained, it's infinite. But it also needs a receptive ear, a gush bahush, like a spring needs someone thirsty.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to creation itself. Ferdowsi mentions kaf and nun.
Ah, yes, the letters kaf and nun. They form the word kun.
From the Qur'anic kun fayakun.
Exactly. Be and it is, or be and it becomes. He's highlighting the instantaneous nature of God's creative command.
Instantaneous, so no time delay at all.
None. As the source puts it, Bashash Ainio Shurdan, the command be is the becoming. There's no gap. It also ties into the idea that God's command, his word, is his action, his fel, not just a sound uttered.
Ferdowsi also seems really focused on time and place right there in the opening. Zaman and Zamin.
Very much so. He stresses temporal time, Zamon, as something that unfolds in place in land, Zamin. Time in this physical realm is defined by passing, by flux, Gozara Budan.
Change.
And this is different from eternity. Completely different from the eternal realm, Sarmad, where there's no change, no passing.
So he's setting up two kinds of time.
Essentially, yes. There's Karanmand, there's temporal, finite time. It passes within the land, it brings decay and renewal. Ferdowsi says it carries away, brings back, makes old, makes new. And then there's Akaran, eternal, infinite time, Sarmad, no change there. Our worldly time, Karanman, flows from the Akaran.
And how does this connect to that incredibly powerful link he makes between land and identity?
This is so critical for the Shahnameh. He explicitly ties land, homeland, Vadan, Sarzamin, to the identity, the huiyat of a people. Their time, their history, their very name,
Yeah.
it's all bound up with their land.
So losing the land means losing.
Losing identity, losing history, losing your name. You're left with only disgrace, shame. He makes that incredibly stark statement. Whoever gives his whole body to be killed is better than giving the world, meaning the land, to the enemy.
Wow. Losing the land is worse than death.
Because it's losing the container of your time, your identity, everything that defines you as a people.
Okay, let's tackle a really big philosophical question the sources bring up. Good and evil. Khair and Shar, Niki and Badi. Are they co-eternal? Like two equal forces?
The answer from Ferdowsi's Todd-based perspective is a clear no. They are not co-eternal twins. God does not create evil. As the phrase goes, Ma yastani min Allah, nothing evil comes from God. God creates only khair, good.
So, if God only creates good, where does evil come from then?
It's said to arise from the tangna.
Tangna.
Yeah, it means constriction, tightness, limitation, the inherent limitation of this finite realm of time, zaman, place, siyam. In this constricted space, friction istikak happens. Think limited resources, conflicting interests, two things trying to occupy the same spot.
Ah, so the limitation itself creates the conditions for conflict.
Exactly. That limitation, combined with human choices that go against the divine order, that's where injustice, conflict, evil appear.
So evil isn't some separate dark creation. It's more like a negative consequence of existence within limits.
That's a good way to put it. It's not a co-equal force created alongside good. It's a consequence of manifestation in limitation and our actions within that. But importantly, Ferdowsi's epic points towards the ultimate victory of Yazdan, of good. There's hope that this limited time will eventually transform into the eternal, free from that constriction.
There's another verse. Greatness and smallness are by his soki, Paiman. All that exists is under his command. What's Paiman getting at there?
Here, Paiman is primarily understood as payman.
Meaning measure.
Proportion.
Yes, measure, proportion, scale. It's related to covenant too, but the core idea is measure. Everything, big or small, exists according to a divine measure set by God's knowledge. That's divine qadar.
And our intellect, Karat, is what recognizes these measures.
It is. Intellect is what perceives these proportions. And here's the critical link the sources make. All injustice, all wrongdoing stems from not knowing or breaking these divine measures.
From not knowing your own measure. See, precisely. Not knowing your own proper place, your own limits within that divine order. All transgression ultimately comes from that ignorance or violation of measure.
So if we trace this whole arc in the opening, life and wisdom, transcendence, intellect, creation, time, place, good and evil, divine measure, where does it all lead? What's the culmination?
It all culminates, really, in ubudiyat, or ibadat.
Servitude, worship, devotion.
All of those. After recognizing the limits of thought, senses, language, and understanding creation and our place in the divine order, the necessary response is acknowledging God's absolute reality and our own fundamental dependence. For limitation. It's described as consciously tying the belt of servitude.
And this isn't just about like external rituals.
No, it's much deeper. It's an inner realization, a conscious acceptance of our dependence, our inability to reach God's essence through our own efforts alone.
And here's that paradox again. Admitting this limitation is the highest knowledge.
Exactly. Recognizing and confessing that limit, that helplessness before the absolute. That's seen as the peak of genuine knowledge, marifat. There's that saying, servitude is a jewel whose essence is lordship. Ubudiyat jawhar rubiya.
Okay, how does that work? Servitude containing lordship.
By fully embracing your reality as contingent, limited, dependent your servitude, you actually gain insight into the nature of absolute independent reality lordship. Knowing your relative nothingness helps you perceive God's absolute allness. Humility before the truth opens a door that pure intellect might not.
And this ties back to the purpose of creation itself, that Qur'anic verse.
Yes, I did not create the jinn and humans except that they may worship me. Philosophically, especially mystically, that worship me, liyabudin, is often read as know me, liyafafun.
So worship isn't arbitrary, it's the natural outcome of knowing.
It's seen as the necessary result of achieving deep knowledge, marifat, of our true place. And this state, ubudiyat, inherently includes profound gratitude. Sipas.
Gratitude for existence itself and for intellect.
Absolutely. Gratitude for being, and especially for the gift of intellect that allows this whole journey of understanding. It's seen as an intellectual obligation, wujubakli. Reason itself demands it. But as the Quran reminds us, few are those who are truly thankful. It takes constant awareness.
It really is incredible. Theology, epistemology, cosmology, ethics, mysticism. Ferdowsi packed it all into those opening lines.
It's all there, woven together. It shows exactly why he's called Hakim, the sage. He wasn't just starting a story. He was laying down an entire worldview, a spiritual and intellectual foundation.
It really underscores that idea that knowledge, Shenekton, and being aren't separate things in this view.
No, they're intertwined. Like, God's essence is his knowledge. For us, awareness and existence are deeply connected.
A whole philosophical system right at the start. Gives you a completely new lens for reading the Shahnameh. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the philosophical beginning of the Shahnameh, maybe here's a thought for you, the listener, to take away. It builds on this really powerful idea we've been discussing that recognizing limits, acknowledging what we can't fully grasp or control, that might actually be a path to a deeper kind of knowing. Think about an area in your own life right now. It could be anything, a complex problem, a tricky relationship, a creative block, a big decision, somewhere you feel like you're hitting a wall, feeling limited, uncertain. Maybe you've been trying hard to figure it out, force a solution with just intellect or willpower, and it's not working. What might happen if, instead of just pushing harder in that same way, you consciously try to, embrace that feeling of limitation, that sense of maybe humble acceptance for the sheer complexity of it all? Could acknowledging, I don't actually know, or I can't fully control this, could that actually open up a different way of seeing, a different kind of connection, maybe? Or even reveal a path forward you couldn't see when you were only focused on trying to conquer it with tools you already had?
It's quite a shift in perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving from that striving to dominate towards a space of, humble acceptance of the limits. What might emerge from just sitting with that space?
Something to ponder, perhaps. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.